Okay, so we're learning brachos daf daled amud beis, and the Gemara says, "Va'amar Rabbi Elazar bar Avina." Which angel is greater, Michael or Gabriel? Michael or Gabriel? Which malach is greater? Godol mashenemar b'Michael yoser mimashenemar b'Gabriel. That which is stated regarding Michael is more great than that which is stated regarding Gabriel. So he quotes from the Ilu b'Michael Ksiv. Yeshayahu Hanavi says, "Vayoyef Elai echad min asrafim," and one of the angels flew to me. That's regarding Michael. The Gabriel Ksiv in Daniel, it's written in Daniel, "V'ho'ish Gabriel asher re'isi b'chazon b'tchila mu'af bayi'af." And so with regards to Michael, it says, one of the angels flew to me, and regarding Gabriel it says, and Gabriel that I saw, the angel Gabriel that I saw in the vision, at first he flew to me, he swiftly flew, or he flew to me in flight. My mashma, so the implication is that with regards to Gabriel, he refers to him as with two words of flight, meaning that in order for the angel to reach Daniel, he had to fly in two jumps, whereas when it comes to Michael, Yeshayahu Hanavi says that he flew directly to me. So remember, we're always looking in our Talmudic statements. They're not statements, they're teachings. What is the teaching here? It's a very mystical. Rav Kook has a fascinating interpretation of this. He says the Malach Gabriel refers to intellectual rigor. Intellectual rigor, enlightenment, research, study, scholarship. Malach Michael refers to simple faith, commitment. He says that when throughout Tanakh, Malach Gabriel is referred to as providing understanding and intellect to people, whereas Malach Michael is spoken of as the defending angel, that in times to come, when Am Yisrael stand in judgment, when the Jewish people stand in judgment before God, Malach Michael will stand at our right side and protect us. And this is kind of, he says there are really two approaches to trying to find God. We can find God through philosophy, through learning, through the intellectual pursuit, or we can find God with the simple faith that's in our heart. And they're both legitimate paths to pursuing a connection with Hashem. However, the Talmud here, he says, is teaching us that the path of Michael, the path of simple faith, is much more direct than the path of Gabriel. And he continues, "My mashma dahai echad b'Michael ksiv." Why would you say that the first angel spoken of in Yeshaya, he says, one of the angels flew to me? Where do you get the idea that this is speaking about Michael? Rab Yochanan asya echad ksiv hacha vayoef elai echad min asrafim uksiv hasam v'nei Michael echad min asarim harishonim bal azreini. And so he says, because elsewhere in Tanakh, Michael is referred to as one of the angels who has come to help me. And here again we have this idea, the idea of oneness and of help. In a sense, Rav Kook says, there's a deep idea here. When we are finding God through philosophy, through intellectual pursuit, we are finding him outside of ourselves. And so there is a two-step process. We're leaving our own experience, understanding this item that we hold at arm's length, analyzing it, allowing it to inspire us, and then finally that inspiration enters our heart. So there's a two-step. We leave our experience, and then we allow that thing that we're examining to become our experience. Whereas when we connect to God out of a sense of humility and simple faith, there is nothing outside of ourselves that is bringing us to our faith in God. It's simply our own life. And I think it's very interesting that he brings the example of Mythical as the angel that protects the Jewish people in judgment. Because, when you have somebody, and this is also something that I've been thinking about in terms of the 3 weeks and coming up Shabbos Mevorchim Av, as we contemplate the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash and our hopes for it being rebuilt, is the idea of sinas chinam and avas chinam. We spoke about it before. Sinas chinam means hatred, baseless hatred. Avas chinam means baseless love. That means the person doesn't deserve your love, but you give it to them anyways. Or the example that I gave is when somebody does something wrong and you make excuses for them, which is essentially what Mythical is doing for us. He'll be supporting us in judgment. He'll be making excuses for us. Who do you make excuses for? You make excuses for somebody with whom you have an affinity, somebody with whom you have an alliance, somebody with whom you have a connection. You make excuses for your family. You make excuses for someone that you love. You make excuses for yourself. Meaning, what Malach Mythical is, first of all, he's saying about the Jewish people in our defense, in judgment, he's saying, first of all, these people are connected with me and they're connected with you, Hashem. Which is his defense. And this represents the idea of simple faith, which is to say, every one of us, while we pursue philosophy, and we should, and while we pursue intellectual learning of Hashem, and that's exalted and advanced and so high, and it has there's a special good taste to a philosophical, metaphysical understanding of the nature of existence and a real inspiring teaching. But never forget Malach Mythical, which says that after all is said and done, we know in our gut that we're good Jews. And we know in our gut that we believe in Hashem, that we believe in God and we have faith. And we should never forget that when we're trying to understand God through philosophy, we are not understanding something that's outside of us, rather we're understanding something inside of us. Meaning all of that philosophy is to explain and to give language to that which we already know in our gut. Like when I was, I repeated this a few times, and so far everyone has agreed with me. He said, when I went on a date, all of the dates that I went on was to confirm that which I knew in my instinct in the first 15 seconds. So maybe some of you say, I hated her at first. Okay, fine. But in most cases, I find that people tell me, I knew right away in the first 15 seconds, but I had to go on multiple dates in order to understand and appreciate what I saw initially. So, in this sense, when we're pursuing the two-step process, Rav Kook says, remember that all along, inside of you, is that faith in that simple and perfect and connection with Hashem. And the irony is that it's also there when we're in defense. It's also there when we're in judgment, which means Malach Mythical is saying, even when he was sinning, he was connected with you, Hashem. There's a part of us that even when we're turning away from Hashem, there's a part of us that still has Hashem inside of us. After all, as we said the other day, even a sinner is breathing. And who is causing him to breathe, if not Hashem? HaKadosh Baruch Hu can stand us, no matter what we're doing. because He allows us to continue to exist. Wonder of wonder, miracle of miracles.